Good evening. You're watching Viewpoint. There is an outpouring of emotion on the streets of Kolkata. We saw women romping the streets at midnight. Their message was clear. We are here to reclaim our space, to reclaim our time, to reclaim our right to work at any hour of the day or night without having the fear of some predators looming large to pounce at us. We do not want to live in the perpetual fear of our modesty being outraged by our colleagues, by our workers in our workplaces. We demand a safe workspace. We demand that the streets, the homes where women operate, be made safe for them. Is it really too much to ask for? Women across the country are agitated. Doctors, of course, are in the forefront of it all. There are protests that have erupted in Delhi. I just saw pictures of protests coming from Tiruvananthapuram. These are young resident doctors who are agitated. They are hurt to see one of them being raped, mutilated, and murdered in the most heinous way possible. So, this country is now up against the authorities who are complicit in this. They are appalled. The women who we saw since the last 24 hours out on the streets are appalled that nothing has changed since Nirbhaya. The culprits were hanged. Law was changed, yet there is no fear of the law. You still have the same kind of people in every nook and cranny, waiting to commit the same kind of crime. Women are agitated because they cannot believe that, we are always waiting for another case to happen. The authorities go on a sleep mode. They do not keep their checks and balances in place. How is it that hospitals where resident doctors are expected to work on 36-hour shifts, they're expected to work on night duty, do not have a resting space, do not have washrooms exclusive to them? Why are doctors being made to work in such harsh conditions? And now the situation is, the most appalling part of it all is that political blame game has just started. I'm going to, in fact, point out to a few important things in this story because clearly now the story has moved on. The issue is about whether there is an attempt to cover up. That has taken a serious dimension. Whether there is the involvement of more than one person that makes this very, very serious. Let me welcome, joining me here on the program is Brinda Adige, women's rights activist, joining us from Bengaluru. I have Rohi Roy, BJP spokesperson based in Kolkata. Rohi Ray, I beg your pardon, based in Kolkata. He is a spokesperson of the BJP, as I mentioned. Gaurang Chaudhary joining us from
Hello.
Mumbai. He is the vice
Hello.
president of MARD, that is the Maharashtra Resident Doctors Association. I'm also waiting for Dr. Sharad Agarwal to join us. Welcome, all of you. Thank you so much for joining me here on Viewpoint. So, there are many questions right now, but the first thing that comes to my mind when I see the visuals, I see the outpouring of emotion. I see that women are on the streets because there are quite a few questions that they have in their minds. Brinda, I want to begin with you because you, as a representative of those who are agitated, of those who are angry, can perhaps tell us, why are we angry today? Explain to our audience that this rage has a reason. It is coming from somewhere, and you'll perhaps be able to explain that better.
Yes, you're very, very right. This is outrage. This is anger. This is also frustration and a lot of pain and hurt, especially with regard to this case in Kolkata. Like you mentioned, a woman who has worked for over 36 hours goes to rest in a seminar room, assuming that that place of work, which is inside that hospital, is a safe place. Nobody would do anything to her. She's just resting and coming back. And if this place is not safe, what other place is safe for women? Of course, we know, because we live in a patriarchal society where there is continuous sexist and misogynistic language, that our homes are not safe, our communities are not safe, our streets are not safe. But in this case, the outrage is enough. We cannot take this anymore, because here we saw institutional apathy. We saw institutional pathetically taking cover under various excuses. The police not acting immediately as per law. And then we have statements being made by politicians. Somebody says, yeah, rapes happen everywhere. Somebody else says, oh, why was she there in the night? This rhetoric questions that go on and on. And I think if there is no outrage from us women and of course men, because we want to acknowledge the number of men who come standing alongside with women to say that this is not acceptable. It is not just outrage and anger only from women. Of course, that is the big number. But there are also men with us, and we want men, women, everybody else to stand alongside and demand that safety, which cannot be the burden of women. The burden to be
Let me
safe
play out what
should not
Mamata
be on women.
Banerjee said earlier. I'm
Impartial
coming to
organization,
the other
then what
panelists. Here
for
it is.
BJP leaders are disclosing all the names who will be arrested by the CBI or not? It is not your duty. CBI is an impartial organization. Let them work impartially. And राजा महाशय एवं होम मिनिस्टर, आपका जानकारी के लिए हम कहेंगे कि ये मैटर अभी सब जुडिस है, सीबीआई को इंक्वायरी करने के लिए दिया गया है। हमें चाहती है कि कानून आप हाथ पे मत लो, आपको लोगों को भी मत लेने बोलो। आप मेहरबानी करके सीबीआई को देके हमारा पुलिस जो 90% निपटाया है उसको आप जल्दी से जल्दी संडे का अंदर उसको निपटा दीजिए और उसको फांसी में चढ़ा दीजिए, ये हमको कहना है।
Okay, so Rohi Ray, if I can come to you on that, this is important because obviously here is a chief minister. What has happened is, as soon as the CBI took over the case, Mamata Banerjee has decided to be on the agitating side. But what she's saying here is that Kolkata Police has completed 90% of the investigation. The CBI needs to conclude this and hang the rapists. Your response to the way Mamata Banerjee has implored the Home Minister and her appeal to the CBI now that the court has ordered a CBI inquiry?
Mamata Banerjee should, for some time, come out of the opposition leader mode, which she has. Of course, she was an opposition leader for a very long time, and she is still in that mode. She still now blames everyone for everything except her. I will tell you that the Arjikor event that took place on 9th of August is not an isolated event. After Arjikor event, let me tell you, on 12th August, in Shaktigarh, a specially abled girl was gang raped. On 13th August, and these all things are in the media, on 13th August, in Shaktigarh area only, another girl at 7:45 p.m. coming out of her house, her family members found her throat split and she was lying dead. On 14th August, in Modhumgram, the day before our Independence Day, people found a sack, and then when they opened it, they found a dead body of a woman. And yesterday night, a minor girl, was gang raped in Shiliguri. So this is not an isolated event that is happening in West Bengal. If today we are claiming that Mamata Banerjee should resign, we are claiming it based on certain things. Firstly, if you see the attack that took place in Archikor on the day of 14th, when the women reclaimed the night, the people came, and if I quote the number of the police, it's 5,000 to 7,000 people. They came with weapons, with rods, with sticks. Now, let me tell you a very basic thing, a very layman thing. If today, ma'am, I go to your house and if you tell me that, okay, Romi, go to that room, will I be able to go there? No, right? But if I know your house already from before, then I will be able to go. How did the 5,000 to 7,000 people, the goons, without knowing anything about inside out of Archikor, managed to get there at the right spot where they were supposed to go? They destroyed everything and came back. It means they already had the blueprint from before. Also, when such an agitation is taking place, some gundagati is taking place, the intelligence is supposed to have information about it. If you are not having it, it's an abysmal failure on the part of the state intelligence, which is responsibility of the Home Minister. Who is the Home Minister? Mamata Banerjee. She was doing rally today. Against whom? Secondly, questions are being raised on the police. If today questions are being raised on the police, it's okay. Sometimes we should also take a step back. If today Mamata Banerjee sits back and says that, okay, these have been a mistake, now we are doing course correction. She's not doing that. She suddenly came out on the streets today claiming that Bengal is being defamed. Who is defaming Bengal? You think we cannot question you? You think you are the representative of entire Bengal? No, ma'am, you are not. You are the one who passed comment yesterday that these are AI generated videos. The incidents like this happen. Please, you do not represent the entire Bengal. At least you do not represent us. You are the chief minister, but you represent a political party only. You do not represent the entire state. I'm very sorry to say
I'll
this.
tell you what the
Thirdly,
problem is, Rohire. I'll tell you, and we requested TMC to come in. Of course, we could not get TMC to come in. To I can understand their hesitance at this point because, like you said, there are tough questions, and you asked a valid question: that who is she agitating against? It is her government in West Bengal. Law and order is a state subject. This is a state-run institution. So, who exactly is Mamata Banerjee now trying to question? She is out, as per her statement, she is out to demand a speedy punishment for the culprits because the main accused is already arrested and she claims that her police force has done the bulk of the job. The CBI just has to conclude it. I'm going to go to Mr. Gaurang Chaudhary in just a bit. I am, in fact, going to play out what politicians who are aligned to Mamata Banerjee are saying. It's not important to politicize it, but we do need the perspectives in terms of who should take responsibility at this stage. So let me play out Manoj Jha's statement that came in earlier.
लेकिन गवर्नर साहब को इस वक्त स्टेट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के साथ या सीबीआई को जो इनपुट चाहिए वो करने की कोशिश ये कौन किन्होंने कहा त्यागी साहब की मुश्किलें कम होने का नाम ही नहीं ले रही है वो क्या करें मैं उनसे उम्मीद करूंगा कि बिहार के बारे में यही बयान दें
Okay, so this is again.
हर डॉक्टर दिल्ली तक में डॉक्टर ऑन ड्यूटी के साथ ऐसी चीजें वो किसी सभ्य समाज के लिए उचित नहीं है लेकिन गवर्नर साहब को इस वक्त स्टेट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के साथ मिलकर या सीबीआई को जो इनपुट चाहिए वो करने की कोशिश होनी चाहिए।
लेकिन सर पूरे मामले में जदयू की तरफ से जो बयान आया है जदयू की तरफ से ये कहा जा रहा है कि जिस तरह का ममता बनर्जी का रोल रहा है इस पूरे मामले में उनको राज्य के मुख्यमंत्री के तौर पर बने रहने का कोई अधिकार नहीं
ये
है।
कौन किन्होंने कहा है जदयू से?
ये जदयू के केसी त्यागी साहब ने कहा।
त्यागी साहब की मुश्किलें कम होने का नाम ही नहीं ले रही हैं वो क्या करें मैं उनसे उम्मीद करूंगा कि बिहार के बारे में यही बयान दें।
Okay, so what I'm going to try and do right now is actually understand this. This is an unending saga, of course, of politicians blaming each other. But let's yes, I'll come to you, Mr. Ray, but I want to get in all the panelists first into the discussion with their opening comments. Gaurang Chaudhary, you are someone who represents resident doctors. Now, after hearing Brinda, after hearing Mr. Rohi Ray, you heard the politicians as well. Do you feel that the actuality of the situation, the reality of the situation is somewhere missed by a lot of people, especially the politicians? Because one would have expected at this time, like you heard, of course, the BJP is solely targeting Mamata Banerjee, it is her state. Mamata Banerjee is in turn talking about how the CBI now has the onus on them and they better deliver. Somewhere are we missing out, the sensitivity towards this story that resident doctors across India today, how they are feeling about this? The fact that their workplace conditions are exposed and they have been doing it for years, probably in the same manner without a complaint because they have to deliver. I want to hear from you the significance of this situation and the predicament of the resident doctors in this country.
So, okay. First of all, this is not only related to West Bengal. Almost all the states, doctors don't have a proper duty room. They do the duties for 24 hours, 36 hours, 48 hours, and sometimes even more than 48 hours. So they are mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, and they don't have a place to rest. Now, in this situation in Kolkata, as you said that Mamata Banerjee has commented that 90% of the work has been done. So I would like to point some facts that by the circumstantial evidence and some autopsy findings, the injury findings on her body cannot be done by a single person. We all the medical students have gone through a basic understanding of forensic medicine in a second year MBBS course, and the amount of semen found in her body and all the injuries which have been inflicted on her body, it's not possible to be committed by a single person in a span of 1 to 2 hours.
Hmm.
So the question arises: is really the work being 90% completed? So, if it is a case of gang rape, as pointed by the evidence, then where are the other accused? Why has there been no comment? And since the main accused has been arrested, so why is there not the further questioning that how it was committed, how he
Hmm.
committed the act, and so that it can be correlated with the evidences found. So
Are
the
you
thing is,
suggesting that there is
I
a cover up? There are more people involved, and if we now pay attention to the sequence of events, clearly there is something amiss. One person, of course, who's arrested is supposed to be involved, but you are indicating that there are others and they are being shielded. Is that also what you're saying?
see, I can't say if they're shielded. I can't comment on that, but I can say this about the circumstantial evidences from the autopsy report that the
Hmm.
act cannot be done by a single person. It
Hmm.
gives us that there are many persons involved, more than one person at least. And
Hmm.
if, like from experts, also opinions have said that this act cannot become done by a single person. So, regarding cover up, I would like to ask why has the government or any the institution, why was it first stated as a suicide? The case was stated as a suicide. Why are the not the principal then commented that why was the case committed first said as a suicide, which was not the at all the fact by looking at the injuries. So why they were saying that this is a suicide, and after some agitation, then only the body was taken for autopsy. So cover up, I is the cover up is there or not, but I can tell you for fact that the case is not completed. The what the investigation is not completed, 90% completion. I will deny that fact.
Okay. Well, that is interesting because, that changes a lot of things. If Mamata Banerjee is claiming that we have almost finished 90% of the investigation, here we have Dr. Gaurang Chaudhary saying that cannot be the case. It cannot be done in a hurry, and there should not be an attempt to finish all of this in a hurry. Professor Joydeep Sarangi, principal of New Alipur College, joining us from Kolkata. First of all, welcome. Thanks for joining in. I want views on this. The college in question has to take responsibility. Look at how the principal resigned, and after making some rather unsavory comments, undesirable comments about the incident, then he retraces those comments, then he resigns, and then he is quickly given another position in a tearing hurry. Now, I want to ask you this question about whether there could be a possible cover up in this. You just heard Dr. Chaudhary, Gaurang Chaudhary, say that if there are more people involved, that should be investigated as well, and the case should not be concluded in a hurry. Do you think the people who are the administrators of the college, and you are a principal of a college yourself, must be questioned more closely in this case?
Thank you. My respect to other panelists. Yes, what you say is something very interesting. But when someone is charged with something, the first thing is the resignation that matters. So that is the, I think, one of the parameters of, I'll say, the compulsions of the position, who is holding the position that has to undergo. So this, he is removed from that position. That is a part of one part. And the other part that you were talking about, that is also the decision or the policy matter or the policy makers. You know, uh, you have very pertinently asked the question that how is it relevant and how is it possible? But
Hmm.
in a grammar of administration, I think if something happens in my terrain, within my jurisdiction, the first thing the resignation comes. But of course, it's a responsibility if he takes, or if the case, whatever the case may be, whatever the finding may be, that there should be always something from the within to do that.
Hmm.
But this is also a kind of grammar in a kind of administrative setup that goes on. It is very interesting and very sad to say that these things are happening are all around. But we should be more. No, we should treat in a civil. live in a civil society where more respect in gender wise should be cultivated, nourished, cultured. And it is also a matter of our eyes and gauges. So I think we should be more learned in our remarks before jumping into some conclusions or statements, because this is a process, so it's very difficult to get into the crux of the matter. But of course, the thing, it's almost a criminal thing has happened. So we all have daughters in our houses, who are we wives, we are born from our mothers. It's our duty to always to be respectful to our other half of the moon, that is women folk, that I can talk about.
Let's listen into the police commissioner of Kolkata who spoke earlier, and
We
I'm
should
coming
look
to
at
Brinda
it
after
that we should
that.
have anticipated there are 5,000 people, 10,000 people here. Uh, if you say that it is failure of assessment, yes, you can call it. It is a failure of assessment. That 10,000 people will turn up here and they would vandalize the entire place. This entire protest was supposed to have been a very peaceful protest. That is what is my understanding. That is what I understand from people who must have given the call. There was no such intelligence. There is no such, even I don't know whether you also played you do a lot of advanced reporting. I don't know that you also played something like this, that okay, there is likely to be some vandalism there, people might do this or that, do that. So obviously we are not, we are also human beings, our intelligence. We also make an assessment on the basis of whatever is available on the social media, intent, people from friends like you, and we try and make an assessment on that basis. We deploy our resources and try to see that law and order is maintained. So the assessment failures is not the first time the assessment failure has happened, whether in Calcutta or anywhere else. They do happen at times.
So, Brinda, very candidly, you have the police commissioner saying that in situations like this, assessment failures can happen. Uh, it is rather unfortunate that you have a situation like this not being taken seriously enough. And I notice a sort of a candor, which at least I found it a little unnerving for the police commissioner to say, okay, there was an assessment failure, so what? All police forces have to go through this sometimes, so don't malign us. His main problem was, why is Kolkata police getting maligned? He's blaming the media. I heard his earlier statement as well. So again, Brinda, I come back to this, that there's a sort of insensitivity, to what a women went through at work, on duty. Everyone seems to be guarding their own turf. The politicians, the college authorities, the police commissioner. How are you reading this, Brinda?
This is criminal negligence on the part of the police. We are looking and talking digital India. And if he is sitting there making such an irresponsible, callous statement, just goes to show that he is not bothered about any consequences. There is nothing at stake for him. He wants to consider himself to be absolved that everywhere these mistakes happen. First and foremost, the case was not given due respect, importance, and seriousness until the doctors came out onto the streets. Like the other person mentioned over there, that somebody came out and said that this is suicide. So, when the police do not have that right to come out and speak in that manner, we are talking of 7,000, 10,000 people in a span of couple of hours, and there is no intel available. That is something I refuse to agree and believe, because we are talking of a police force whose technology cannot be questioned. A police force, whether it is Calcutta or Bangalore or anywhere else, should have some information, may not have all the information, and to protect at least the doctors who are protesting and protect the hospital. It is also a crime scene. Now they failed to do both. They didn't protect the protesters, neither did they protect the crime scene and the people in the hospital. Imagine people barging into the hospital and threatening nurses that they will rape them. When you know that the emotions are so high, people are all talking about each other, one political party blaming the other political party, where was your rapid action police force? Even one of that rapid action police force should have been sitting in front of the hospital. Even that was not there. So this statement by the Kolkata police is absolutely criminal negligence. Nothing short of that. And the callousness with which he speaks also goes to show. You ask another question somewhere, well, is this a cover up? It largely looks like there is a cover up because the vandalizing of that place did not allow for a lot more evidence that might have got gathered as a result of the CBI coming in over there. So there are a lot of questions that one must ask. But the
Right.
first and the last question that I want to continue to ask, if the police are not ready, if the police are so inept, where else can we go and ask for that protection? We can't call the army at a drop of a hat and say, oh, the police are inept, now please let's call the army. That is unacceptable. The police should
I'll go
not
to
make
Rohit in just a
excuses.
bit. I want to ask Dr. Gaurang Chaudhary, the demands coming from IMA. There's a charter of demands now that all these things have to be corrected in a workplace for such incidents not to occur. And of course, the central government, the union government will equally have to be participative in this. Have I lost Gaurang Chaudhary there? Okay, Rohit, like I said, the union government cannot shirk off responsibility because this kind of an incident is not typical to Kolkata. It can happen anywhere. And let me also be clear that such working conditions are everywhere in government hospitals. It is not typical to RG Kaur Medical College. So I would like to understand from you, beyond blaming Mamata Banerjee, Brinda Adige is being very fair and saying no, police force will have to take responsibility. Mamata Banerjee will have to take responsibility. 7,000 people entering the crime scene when under your nose is not acceptable. We are all saying that. But the union government has to be the main policy maker in terms of ensuring that such incidents do not occur anywhere again. What is your view on whether that is being also taken seriously enough?
Yeah. I will try to quickly wrap up two parts of this. Firstly, related directly to your question, which you asked. Yes, of course, every government, not only the union government, whenever the people are electing someone to a position, it is your responsibility. You can hold any position. If you are holding a position of responsibility, you cannot run away from it. You can be from any political party. You cannot say that, okay, I'm not responsible, it is your rape, it is my rape, which is generally something that happens, and it's very sad in a society. We cannot expect that. Being a sensible person, no one expects that also. Saying so, the new Nyaya Sanhitas which have come are also expecting that within 2 months such cases are being solved. So we also hope that the CBI will solve it. We also expect that the state, the health is both a central as well as a state subject. And today, the health ministry has given a kind of notice that the hospital authorities have to inform within 6 hours of such incidents taking place. I think that's a way we can be vigilant, and also what Prime Minister mentioned yesterday from Republic Day, from Independence Day program at Red Fort, that to an extent media should also cover the incidents of punishments that take place, so that the people get scared. So, which is again important. Saying so, I'll just mention one thing, that the vandalism that took place in Archikor on 14th, after that, the hospital authorities yet to register a single complaint. Okay, now I'll come to another point, a point which was raised by Madam Adige, and I will just go. I will move along with that. It is regarding the cover-up thing which has been said. I will tell you a very important thing, that if, from the law's perspective, when you are seeing a case of rape, the evidence becomes very important. You know why Kolkata police arrested the Mr. Sanjay Roy? I think if the name is Sanjay Roy. Why was he arrested? Because the Kolkata police is saying that one of the wires of his earphone was lying there. Let me tell you, this is a very baseless evidence. In a case of rape, these evidence do not hold ground. But why am I mentioning this? 11 years ago, a rape incident happened in West Bengal, which is Kamduni rape case. Interestingly, the rape case went to CID. Who was the Inspector General of CID at that point of time? The person's video you are showing, Mr. Vineet Goyal. He arrested the accused by saying that this person is accused because he got scratch marks on his body. He failed to prove that the scratch marks were of that girl who got raped and murdered. And by a very hollow investigation, by a sham investigation, the result after 11 years of Kamduni rape cases Most of the accused are roaming around scot free, and a few are serving in the jail in very minimal charges. This is the and at that point, the police minister of the state was Mamata Banerjee. At that point of time, the CID inspector was Vineet Goyal, who is the police commissioner at this point of time, who is again leading a sham investigation. I am saying this with proof. Now, let me tell you, at that point of time, also Mamata Banerjee said that, okay, I will, within 1 month, the punishment will be served. You know what happened? The state lawyers, they refused to fight for the victim. Till 2023, I am saying the state lawyers refused to fight for the victim's family. And she said that within 1 month, I will give you justice. I do not know. This is a very sad thing that every year this is happening. Every year we are discussing. Sometimes we use the term like political rape, but I don't know whether I am really, as a common person, not from any, like, not any political background, as a common person, I really don't know when will we really change as a society. When will our this demonic thing inside men really end?
That is a interesting way to put it, because that is why women are anguished today. And I said this in my opening comments as well, Rohire. I understand and I appreciate that you are saying it also in a way that it should shake our conscience. The fact that you have women doctors who are working odd hours, you had a chief minister of a state in this country say, now I'm going to ensure that women don't have to work those odd hours. I mean, look at the mentality, basically resigning to the fate that there will be predators. I can't do anything about them. So, what will I do? I will restrict women. I mean, think about it. As a woman who's been working all my life, this is appalling. And that is why when I decided on this program, I said, women are appalled, they're agitated, and they're anguished. Appalled at the reaction. I mean, look at the police commissioner's reaction. He wants to save his own turf. He wants to save his job. He wants to be seen that he's done everything in the right earnest. Look at the reaction of the politicians. Mamata Banerjee is blaming the BJP and the left. The BJP, again, with all due respect to you, has only been targeting Mamata Banerjee from day one, saying this is what Bengal is about. By the way, Bengal is supposed to be the safest state. Kolkata, until the last survey of NCRB, was the safest city. It's unfortunate that it has to happen there. Here are the protests of the BJP workers uh, earlier in the capital city. Let's listen into what they are saying. And then you have the Delhi doctors, of course, doctors from across the country are out agitating. Here is what happened earlier in the capital city.
Our responsibility. But at the same time, as Dr. Anupam says, I am very, very sometimes even at my stage, your first thing is your reaction is your blood starts boiling. We don't want that. You don't want people to mislead you. There will be people who will try to mislead you. They'll make you do things which you should not do. And then what happens? The entire focus happens. Oh, उन्होंने ये कर दिया, उन्होंने वो कर दिया. The focus from your issue shifts. Don't let the focus shift from your issue. Your issue should remain. You should stay on that and stay on a path that is peaceful. When you go on the
Peaceful protest is being appealed here, and unfortunately, the protest turned ugly because of the vandalism. Here are visuals of the CBI officers who arrived earlier in the crime scene. Now, CBI is investigating this matter. Uh, Mamata Banerjee decided to take to the streets. So, pictures of Mamata Banerjee came in earlier today, where her demand is that now the CBI should conclude the investigation, and her demand is that the rapist must be immediately hanged. Right. Closing comments then. I don't know if Brinda, yes, Brinda is with us. Brinda, to you first. In a situation like this, the protests have erupted across the country. Doctors are particularly aggrieved. Working conditions must change. Is it that difficult? Is it really too much to ask for? I mean, what are we doing with the taxpayers' money? These are government run institutions, basic facilities, safe spaces for women to operate in odd hours in those professions. And this is not about just doctors, isn't it, Brinda? I'll just unmute you 1 second. I think this mic, your mic is mute. You'll have to unmute yours. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, you're right, Afrida. This is not only about doctors, it is about all women and yes, men also working anywhere during the night or in places where it is very difficult to find something where you can catch a auto or a bus or a something and go find a nice place where you can rest. It is the responsibility of the institution, especially those run by the government. So it is the government's responsibility. That is what we pay our taxes for. And at the rate at which we have been paying our taxes the last couple of years, the government has no excuse to say that they will not enhance and add more rooms for doctors and people who are working in the night and increase the security. What is the problem in increasing security? What is the problem in increasing CCTV cameras and having them duly monitored? What is their problem? They cannot have any excuses. No excuse at all. That is the least they can do for women working and men working. And for women, if they find that they are being rostered in the night to work, then there must be additional safety and protection. Especially people in hospitals and people doing night duty in essential services, you know that they cannot close their doors and sit back and say, we want to be safe. The doors are open and anybody can come and anybody can go, which means the government has the primary responsibility. They cannot wish away this responsibility. They cannot give any excuses. That is what technology is all about. They cannot say that
Yes.
we have only two security, so we can't do anything. You sit and decide how you can have CCTV cameras so that one of the security is monitoring that camera 24/7. And that
These
said,
are
I think it is
24/7 services. These are professions where people work 24/7. I've worked in organizations and news organizations where the office is running 24/7. I mean, I've been fortunate to work in spaces which are always well lit, which is always monitored by CCTV cameras, which means these are very, very doable things. This is the
absolutely
very
doable.
minimum for
And
any workplace that operates round the clock, isn't it? Okay, unfortunately, lost Brinda there. Go ahead, Mr. Ray, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, what I want to say is there's an urgent need to implement the labor codes properly, which I can clearly understand from any profession. It's not only about the doctors. If you see every profession, people are made to work too much than they're supposed to work. So labor codes firstly should be implemented. Secondly, laws are there, the enforcement agencies are working, failures are happening, but at the end of the day, we should also look at the society. I think what is very important at this point of time, what I strongly feel is that the sex education is something that should be given to all. Because if you see the study, the mentality of these people, not only about the rape. Today, I was checking social media, I was checking some people, the dark humor. A very common term nowadays is used is dark humor, where you normalize sexualizing a person or you normalize passing some very rude remarks against a person. And these are being done by people who are educated. So, to an extent, I feel that this kind of sensitization is something that should start at a very root level of your education, and even the parents should be aware of this, because I don't think everything can be done in the school, because at the end of the day you come back home and the parents you learn from an environment at the end of the day. So I think that kind of awareness is very much needed in the society. In the global level also, I'm not only telling about India, but these are the changes I would think is required at
Okay,
this point
closing
of time.
comments again, Dr. Gaurang Chaudhary. Because see, I have been a journalist for over 2 decades, and I've covered so many of these doctors' protests. The issue of patients' relatives targeting doctors, resident doctors, happens with an alarming regularity. So already there is a security threat, which is why already there is a need to have security and safety measures in place, particularly in hospitals where doctors are vulnerable. Men and women are vulnerable to patients' relatives, going awry whenever the outcome of a case is undesirable. So where is the question of not having adequate safety measures in a hospital that operates round the clock? Dr. Chaudhary, your closing comments on where you think are the main lapses, which case after case happens, but these corrections are not being made.
So in a government run setup, when generally there's an accident or any emergency case which comes, so the accompanying persons, they are very much emotional. So sometimes they don't know the severity that the patient is already on the verge of a death or a verge in becoming a serious threat to his life. So when they are brought to the hospital, so what happens? Many of the relatives, patients' relatives, form a group and go over to the doctor, so it becomes a threat. And when the news has been said that the patient has expired or patient has become being serious, so become very emotional and they charge over the doctor. They should know that sometimes it's a life. Sometimes doctors are also humans. They cannot save everybody. Second, the thing, the security should make sure that when such relatives come, only a certain one or two relatives are accompanying the patients. And most of the times, when many of the relatives attack on a doctor, no, the securities only stand by side and watch, because they are saying, and most of the common comment is that we are only two or three security persons, and the relatives or the persons accompanying the patient are in the 50s or 60s. Many persons are there, so we cannot stop them. So they run away, and doctors are the persons who face the brunt of the relatives attack.
Yes. So that already is a persistent threat. It's a persistent threat. A quick closing comment from you as well, Mr. Jaideep Sarangi. Please go ahead.
Yeah, yes, that is true. That no, people who are working for odd hours, the first thing is to ensure their safety and security by an administrator. So CCTV 24 hours should be monitored, and of course there should be education for all. Education in a sense that everyone should be more sensible. And I know it is very easy to say everyone should be more sensible, but it should come from within. I think it from the nursery school books to everywhere, the gender equality, gender equity, as well as equal opportunities and respecting each other, that should be cultivated, and it should be repeated again and again, so that no, and also the parenting is very important. By parenting I mean from the very beginning, people should know that together we are one universe.
I
And
understand your point. You're saying the civil society
thank
has a
you.
responsibility when these things happen, and we
Absolutely.
know that. But yet, I would not absolve the authorities of their responsibility. I will not absolve the college authorities. I will not absolve the state government, nor will I absolve the union government, the policy makers, the lawmakers in all of this. Because why is it that you're not able to put a system in place that ensures basic safety to women in workplace, in medical institutions? And these are cities which are always under the cameras. This is happening in Kolkata. These are incidents that have happened in the metro cities. This is a very large country. There are, rural hospitals all around. And I shudder to think, I mean, what kind of safety measures would be there where the cameras don't reach? And I'm glad that this incident has become a wake up call now to the harsh working conditions that must be fixed. And I repeat it again and again, that we may not be able to go to the last home and tutor the parents on how to gender sensitize their sons or whatever, but we can put a system in place. To that extent, the taxpayers money must be utilized. I would like to thank my guests this evening for joining me. Yes, Mr. Ray, you wanted to come in for something? Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Rohi Ray, Mr. Dr. Gaurang Chaudhary, Brinda Adige, and Jaideep Sarangi. Thank you so much for your valuable comments. Appreciate your time. I want to thank my viewers for joining in as well. And we will
Thank you.
continue to discuss this issue. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
will continue to bring to our viewers' notice the kind of tragedies that have happened, and it is inexcusable that you have a young lady doctor having to pay with her life while she was on duty, while she was just about taking a nap after long, grueling hours, that she should face this. But now the West Bengal chief minister is in prime focus for demanding capital punishment immediately. We just heard the panel. A doctor representative told us that we cannot be doing this in a hurry. There are already murmurs about whether there is an involvement of more people. The entire case must be thoroughly investigated. This cannot be done in a hurry, and there must be exemplary punishment. There are no two ways about it. Thank you so much for watching Viewpoint this evening.